Hello and welcome to the National History Day in Korea 2016 Remote Judges Training. Just a reminder that this year's NHD contest is being held on Saturday, February 27th from 8:15 till 3 p.m. at Korea International School, Pangyo campus. In this online Judges Training module, we're going to talk about what the NHD contest is all about and your responsibilities as a judge. Please feel free to stop the video if needed to take notes, and be sure to complete the brief quiz after watching the video. I noticed a few new names among our judges, so I wanted to spend just a minute talking about how the contest works and where our contest fits into the bigger picture. There are 5 categories of student entries, all of which can be done individually or in a group, with the exception of research papers, which may be only done by individuals. In addition, we have 2 divisions, junior or middle school for grades 6 through 8, and senior or high school for grades 9 through 12. So in total, there can be up to 18 different judging categories. This year at NHD in Korea, we have over 300 students from 11 schools, and for the first time, we have student entries in all 18 judging categories. In most affiliates, students compete at the school and regional level before moving on to the affiliate level. Most of our students are competing for the first time at KIS, and most of the entries you see will not move on to the national level. Therefore, our goal is to provide all students with a positive and memorable experience that will encourage them to keep learning and reaching ever higher. Let's break it down into the process for a student. Some students have been working on their entries since August. What you will see at the contest should be the culmination of a lot of research and analysis. For most students, the cycle ends in February with the affiliate contest. But those who advance to the national level will have the opportunity to fine-tune their entry based on your feedback. This is why you, as a judge, are so very important to the contest. NHD Korea will kick off at 8:15 a.m. Please arrive by 8:30 so you can meet your judging partners and pick up your welcome and instruction packets. Don't worry, coffee and snacks will be available in Judges headquarters for you. After the welcome address, you will head off to various rooms to meet and interview your assigned students. Depending on your assignment, you should finish interviewing students between 11:30 and noon. At that time, you should return to Judges headquarters to have lunch, finalize rankings, and complete the student feedback sheets. The highlight of NHD Korea is the awards ceremony at 2 o'clock. We hope you stay and wish your students well. Judging teams consist of 2 or 3 people. Each team will have a captain. The captain is responsible for guiding the team in accomplishing the necessary tasks. Captain does not equal commander. This person is an experienced judge or social studies teacher who guides the others on the team. He or she does not have greater power. Your goal as a judging team is to achieve consensus. If a team cannot reach consensus, you should ask me for advice. This goes for the preliminary judging period as well as on the day of the contest. To provide a focus for student research and topic selection, the NHD contest has an annual theme. It is big and broad on purpose to give students a lot of leeway. The student's task is to justify how their topic fits the annual theme, and then to demonstrate historical significance. This year's theme is exploration, encounter, and exchange in history. Students do not have to address all aspects of the theme, and should not be penalized for not doing so. Of course, some topics will lend themselves naturally to all 3 elements. But please be aware that some entries may only address one, such as exploration or exchange. When evaluating entries, the most important thing to look for is historical quality. This is measured by the historical accuracy of the entry, the thoroughness of the student's research, what primary sources they used and how, whether their presentation is balanced, and how much analysis and interpretation they included. The second most important part of the evaluation is the relationship to the theme. Did the student adequately explain how their topic is related in their process paper and in their interview? Did they provide historical context and historical significance? Do not get hung up on the clarity of presentation. Most of these errors can be fixed. Typos, glue smears, improper formatting can all be corrected before the next level. We'll talk more about this shortly. Finally, be careful not to get swayed by the cute factor. Some of those middle school students can be awfully adorable. At the end of the day, you want the students to understand why you evaluated their work the way you did. The evaluation form is your tool to do this. Students will review your evaluations very carefully as they try to understand why you did or did not advance their entry. Help them by checking boxes in the same range and writing clear, unambiguous, and constructive comments. It is important to note that National History Day is far more than just a one-day contest. In 2011, an independent formal evaluation of NHD assessed students in 4 different schools. Using standardized tests, writing samples, and critical thinking exercises, researchers compared students who did and did not participate in NHD. They found that NHD students outperformed their peers at all learning levels and for all subject areas beyond social studies. Overall, NHD students are better writers, better at critical thinking and analysis, as well as perseverance, time management, and communication. These are precisely the skills that we, as educators, strive to teach our students. There are some basic rules for evaluating entries, no matter what category you have been assigned. First, be consistent. Whether it's your first entry of the day or your last, greet all students the same way, and try to ask some similar questions. Regarding personal bias, please strive to demonstrate the same degree of interest regardless of the topic. Even if you have seen the same topic before, remember that it's the first time for this set of students. Similarly, don't show favoritism based on your own interests. We are on a very tight schedule, and we want to make sure each student gets an equal and fair amount of time to explain why and what they have researched. A quick note here. Students are not presenting their entries. You are engaging them in a conversation about the entry via the interview. But please, stick to the schedule. No telling means you should not discuss entries within earshot of anyone except fellow judges. And you should always assume that parents, teachers, and students are watching and listening. As I said earlier, your comments are very important to all the students, whether they advance or not. This is the most valuable feedback they will receive regarding their entry. You will have taken notes as you evaluated the entry and interviewed the students. But please spend time in the judges' room completing the comment section of your judging forms. Each of the judges should complete a separate evaluation form. This way, the students receive more feedback. These forms should not be identical. Instead, they should be complementary in tone and range, meaning that one judge should not check superior if the other 2 check good. The comments must reflect the boxes that are checked. Why is the entry superior? What needs to be improved on? And so on. The very best, the very worst, and every entry in between deserves ample comments. The students have worked literally hundreds of hours for something you will review in about 15 minutes. Make it worthwhile to them. Here are some examples of constructive comments. Don't worry about memorizing these. They will be included on the handouts you will get the day of the contest. If you are prejudging websites, documentaries, or papers, you will be sent a link to the contest rulebook. Please have this link open while you are judging. We will provide all judges with a hard copy of the general rules, as well as the rules for your particular category on the day of the contest. Always refer directly to the rules. Do not rely on your memory. The rulebook clearly delineates between minor and major infractions. Minor infractions are ones which can generally be fixed before moving on to the next level. They should not prevent an entry from advancing, but they can be used to break a tie between entries. Major infractions give students an unfair advantage, and they are grounds for not advancing an entry. Please be careful not to use the word disqualification in reference to anything other than the 3 violations that can lead to disqualification. These are reusing an entry from a previous year, whether it is the student's own work or someone else's, plagiarism, and tampering with another entry. The word disqualification can be confusing to students, teachers, and parents. In terms of NHD, disqualification means removal from the competition. If at any time you have concerns over infractions, please consult with me. During pre-judging, you can email me or call me if you have any concerns. On the day of the contest, I will be present in the judges' room for most of the day. You can send one of the KIS student volunteers to get me, or reach me by phone or Kakao message. Earlier I mentioned process papers. The process paper should not be a research paper about the topic. Instead, it should briefly describe why the student chose their topic, how they did their basic research, why they decided on their category, and how their topic relates to this year's theme. There's a 500-word maximum for process papers. Because the process paper can be key to demonstrating the topic's relationship to the theme, please read the process paper before viewing each entry. Website judges will find the process paper and annotated bibliography integrated into the website. Research paper judges will not see a process paper, but there should be an annotated bibliography attached to the paper. While you'll find the annotated bibliography directly embedded in the website or attached to a research paper, for exhibits, documentaries, and performances, the annotated bibliography should be attached to the student's process paper. You should evaluate bibliographies for each entry based on the strength of their sources, the breadth of their research, appropriateness to the topic, and a young person's ability to investigate the sources. The annotated bibliography is directly related to the criteria of historical quality. It shows the extent and value of a student's sources. They are critical and must be reviewed. Please note that thicker does not equate to better. Quality matters more than quantity. Depending on the topic, source availability varies. For example, a student researching Alexander the Great will have access to fewer primary sources than one who researched the Cold War. Students should not be penalized for this. If you are unsure why a student classified a particular source as a primary or secondary source, this is a good question to ask them during the interview. The purpose of the interview is to clarify any questions or concerns you have and to provide a positive interaction between you, the professional, and the student. Please spend the same amount of time talking with each entry and try to ask similar questions of each. Please do not tell students what their evaluations are or who the winners are. You can ask questions of substance regarding the topic, such as, why did you choose this topic? How did you begin your research process? What was your most important source and why? These are just an idea of some of the questions you can ask. Please see the larger list of sample questions provided in your handouts on the day of the contest. On the slide, discuss is a different color because you should be very careful about discussing entries anywhere except in the judging room. You need to stay on schedule, and everyone will be trying to listen to you and watch your body language. Unless you have complete privacy and the luxury of time, it's best to make notes and hold discussions for when you return to judging headquarters. Here are some examples of best practices for interviewing. Again, Don't worry about copying them down. You'll get a copy of this in your packet on the day of the contest. On to the dreaded paperwork. On the day of the contest, it is important to complete the consensus forms as quickly as possible. The consensus forms are how your judging group ranks the entries in your category. I will need to collect these and organize them for the award ceremony. Those of you who are prejudging websites, documentaries, and papers will also be required to turn in preliminary consensus forms by the end of the prejudging period. However, please note, your rankings may very well shift after interviewing students. In the past, we've seen rankings shift in both directions based on student performance. The interview can be key in discovering if the student has conducted their research and created their entry on their own, or conversely, if they've had unacceptable input and help from parents or even tutors. We discussed the evaluation forms earlier. These are to be completed in the judge's room. This is where you'll write your comments to the students. There will also be a short feedback form in your packet. Once you've completed the survey and handed it in, I will give you your official professional development certificate. Before we look at the rules for individual categories, let's talk about some common National History Day misconceptions. Among these are, exhibits and websites must have timelines. Performances must have songs. Student-conducted interviews are essential. Glitz wins. Students present their entries to the judges at the contest. And there is a winning formula. All of these myths are absolutely false. Regarding interviews, oral history interviews with primary sources can add quality to an entry. But interviews with experts are not necessary. Historians don't usually interview other historians. Students may still do this. Do not penalize them either way. History Day entries are designed to stand on their own. Students should not be actively presenting to the judges. In all cases, the only explanation or additional information students should provide is the title of their entry and their names. After the judges have viewed the entry, then the student should be prepared to answer the judge's question. Regarding a winning formula, there just isn't one. What you want to see is a complete presentation with a thesis, main arguments, ideas, evidence, multiple perspectives, analysis, a conclusion, and of course, demonstrated historical significance. Also, keep in mind that our students who advance will have almost 3 months to fine-tune their entries. If a student has great research and enthusiasm, but a lackluster entry, your comments as judges can guide them to develop a more professional entry. These are the rules specific to the exhibit category. They are explained in detail in the rulebook, and you will have a copy of them on the day of the contest. New since last year is the credit of visual sources. This should be brief and does not count toward the 500 student-composed words. However, captions on visual sources do count. At the national level, judges actually count the words. You don't need to do this, just eyeball it. If you feel like it's over the limit, you can ask the student during the interview, or ask me to take a look at it. While documentaries are prejudged, you will be screening them on the day of the contest. All documentaries will be set up in the judging rooms. Students should not use their own device to ensure that the documentary you are watching is the one that was submitted by the February 12th deadline. Documentaries should not simply be a performance on videotape. Instead, it should be akin to something you might see on PBS or the History Channel. Remember, one judge on your team should serve as timekeeper. Performances must be original productions. Students cannot use something that has already been written. Performance should display stage presence, including clear and audible voices. Costumes should be appropriate for the topic and not confuse or overpower the performance. When you're judging, take into consideration nerves, forgotten lines, and audience applause or laughter when timing the performance. Remember to have one judge on the team serve as a timekeeper. Research papers and websites, like documentaries, are also prejudged. But remember, judges, you can revise your evaluations and change your rankings after you interview the students. Research papers are a traditional form of presenting historical research. For NHD, papers should be between 1,500 and 2,500 words, including student-composed words and quotes from sources. Students are also required to use footnotes, endnotes, or in-text citations. Websites are the newest and most interactive NHD category. All entries should be original student work. Any professional photographs, video, music, or other media must be credited directly on the website and also in the annotated bibliography. Websites may only have 1,200 student-composed words. Students should provide the word count on their homepage. Again, if you have any questions, ask the students or contact me. This concludes the online Judges training. Don't forget to complete your quiz. I'm looking forward to seeing and working with all of you at National History Day in Korea on Saturday, February 27th at the Pangyo campus of Korea International School. See you then!